Welcome to US Rugby Happy Hour Live. Interviews with the biggest names in American rugby.
The New England Free Jacks, Major League Rugby champions. One-on-one to score.
Here are your hosts, Phil Baker and that other guy.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is US Rugby Happy Hour, as the big booming voice said. We got a great show for you today. Freshly off his first USA Eagles cap, Anthem Rugby Carolinas, Makeen, Alikhan, and later New England Free Jacks head coach Ryan Martin is going to roll out of bed and joining us from New Zealand to talk about something that happened a couple weeks ago for the team. I don't know what it is, but speaking of rolling out of bed, Fitzy, how are you, man?
Bill, I'm doing great. I'm out here in sunny Southern California now.
I can tell your complexion looks good. It's a little more golden.
I've got a surfboard right here. I've got my boombox. I've got my flip-flops on, my board shorts. I'm ready to go, man.
Your hair is about an inch longer. I can see it. Dude. You haven't called me dude yet.
Working on it still.
So, Fitzy, an exciting time of year. Obviously, one of the subjects today we've been talking about are the Eagles matches. Eagles Internationals are kicking off. Many on home soil this year, which is great.
Yep.
Would like to see a bigger crowd, but Charlotte, it's also maybe the competition as well. Belgium, Spain. You got to assume DC, England's going to be a much bigger draw. Like who was it? To Scotland last year. What are you thinking, man? This is a great feeling.
100%. Yeah, we're talking about an Eagles win in the for the first test in July, and then a couple of big ones, and then rolling obviously end of summer the Pacific Nations Cup, Rugby World Cup qualifying, all exciting stuff, and yeah. We were both at that match at Scotland last year in Audi Field. There were 17,000 fans there. I imagine that'll be a sellout. I imagine bigger crowd for Spain. They're going to be a fun team to watch again. So, yeah, everything's looking up. Let's go.
Yeah, and Spain, I mean, Belgium's not a pushover either. Spain definitely won't be a pushover. It's going to be a tough match for the Eagles. Of course, England will not be a tough, easy match for them either, even with them missing a lot of their Lions players. So, and it will be a great test for the Eagles out there for Scott Lawrence and the players, and especially, with our guest coming up soon as well. It may mean a little more to him as well.
I wonder.
We shall ask him that.
Yeah.
So with that said, Fitz, let's get into it. Listeners, please do us one last thing. Do that today, okay? Like, follow, and subscribe to this show either on YouTube or social media. That's at eaglesoverseas.com, HTTP, eaglesoverseas.com, rugbymorning.com, and also social media handles, which is actually American Rugby Rising now, and I keep forgetting because it's so new.
Yeah, it's so new.
But do us that favor, share it with your friends, and we have a great time doing these shows and get to talk to great people like we are today. So now, Fitzy, let's do it. Let's get on to our guests. Time for our house band to play in our first guest. This is epic. Hit it.
This man's rugby journey is just beginning. Harlequins, Jackals, Anthem, Rugby. Veterinary medicine is his dream. You may also know him as Makeen. Confident playing for the love of the game. One USA appearance, one try. Can he keep up that work rate? Why not? And now, let's welcome, freshly off earning his first Eagles cap, Eagle number 589, Makeen Alikhan!
Oh, boy. That gives me chills, man.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Makeen.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. How are you, man? Good to have you on.
Yeah, awesome. Doing well. Just in the middle of a big training week. We got the day off today, so that's cool. Yeah, excited. And after that song, you can't not be.
Yeah, I know. So speaking of, our lyricist said veterinary medicine. Was that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. I've done 2 years in the UK. It's a 5-year course there, but I've had to put that on hold, obviously, for the bigger picture here.
So, Makeen, our crack research team, otherwise known as Wikipedia, displayed your place of birth as Vancouver, Canada. Now we gotta ask.
Yeah.
Did the Canucks try and pursue you as well?
No, they didn't.
Oh,
They didn't.
They're
Scott
lost.
Lawrence at the Jackals, he came in and had a chat with me, and I was pretty clear on my goals and what I wanted to do with USA last year. The Canadian coach, I don't even know his name, forgot now, but he came in and he didn't even know I was Canadian eligible. So that says enough about Canadian rugby, doesn't it?
Their loss. Well, I mean, our gain, obviously, first cap. Congratulations on that first cap. You know, coming in, we're in the 22nd minute. Not unfortunately, the unfortunate injury to Samgola. How were your nerves running onto the pitch? I mean, you weren't expected to come in yet. How were you doing? How were you like keeping together?
Yeah, it all happened pretty quick because we just did the little warm up with the bench boys, and then I just see Gola go down, and I was actually telling Mana, one of the boys, I was like, "Oh, you're gonna come on now," and he's like, "No, it's you," and then I had to get myself like switched on pretty quick and get in. But yeah, the heart was beating, and I haven't been that nervous since my Prem Cup debut and with Alikhan. So yeah, it was pretty quick, but it was nice. I had like the half time just to regab myself and get the composure back in it. So yeah, I was fortunate.
yeah, and then you come on, you score your first international try in front of a home crowd, an anthem home crowd. I mean, let's talk about it. Is that how you scripted it in your mind? Your first international appearance, you score a try?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's pretty special. Dad was watching as well. Lots of the community were there that I've done like outreach and coaching and stuff like that. So it's it was a pretty special moment for me. The win was the biggest part because I haven't had a win on that field all season. So that was pretty cool.
We may or may not touch on that later in the interview.
Yeah.
But
Makeen,
go ahead.
Go ahead,
you go on.
No, you go, Bill.
Fine. All right. In a typical match, though, I ask this question to a lot of people because there's nerves in any match, but especially at the test level. I mean, in a typical match for you, no matter if it's Prem Cup, Anthem, Dallas, here, what is the thing that relaxes you or calms the nerves quickest? Or for me, it was the first hit, usually getting hit.
Yeah. I usually have a pretty strict routine of what I do, like game day, and like especially when I get to field. I always like organize my locker, I put all my clothes away, post-match clothes in the special place, all the rest, boots up. And then when I got on field, I have the same stretching routine, and that kind of just takes the thought out of the occasion out of it, and it just like kind of zones me and focuses me in. So yeah, that's how I do it. And then obviously that first hit always gets you into the game pretty quick.
I mean, you're what, still only 23 years old? Is that right? 23, 24?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, and you mentioned, Prem Cup. How old were you when you made your first appearance in the Prem Cup?
I think I was 20, 21. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were 18, 19, if I'm doing the math right, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess, so you're a seasoned pro at this, but knowing that an international test match is like another level. Now, and given that you've gone through professional rugby for a number of seasons now, like how long did it take, I guess, for when you entered the match to kind of get your heart rate back to normal and then be able to kind of look back at the match and kind of, take it all in?
Yeah, heart rate didn't come down for a few days after. Like I was like, it was a pretty. I didn't know what it felt like to play international rugby, so I couldn't really prepare myself. Like obviously, speak to people about the nerves and what it's like, but I was real nervous when I came out, and that, like I said, that half time, I remember Roddo coming over to me, the S&C, and he was like, just take your breaths, like. Just recompose yourself. And then when I came back out there, I felt like I had a bit more of a groove in me, and I felt more in the game or whatnot. And then, it didn't take me till probably Wednesday this week, yesterday, where I like kind of realized the moment and what happened, and I fully sunk in probably yesterday.
what am I trying to say here? Oh, we mentioned Canada. Didn't call. Good for us. What made you go the USA route? I'm assuming you knew at a younger age you were qualified. Were you holding out for England possibilities as well? It's not a bad answer if that is, because Will Hooley's been on. He's talked about how he was just at a match and all of a sudden his parents were sitting next to somebody else's grandparents who found out he was, had domestic qualifications. So talk about that men's Eagles route for you.
Yeah, so obviously I grew up in Australia in my younger years, and then I moved over when I was 14 or 15 to the UK. And then when you're in that setup, like I didn't really think USA was like ever going to be a real option for me. I knew my mum's American, so that's how I'm eligible. But I never kind of even thought that as a possibility. So forefront of the mind was always like England, obviously, but because you're in that environment and whatnot. But as soon as I came over last year, I was like this is a real easy country to be patriotic about. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to buy into. Like, got an F-150 like this year. I'm just like, I love the American American lifestyle. So it's easy to get involved with. And so that was always the goal as soon as I stepped foot on USA soil last year. So yeah, that was kind of my route into it.
All right, well, let's jump into the camp. Let's jump into teammates as well. It's very competitive, especially a position very competitive and deep back row for the Eagles.
Sure.
What have you learned from being maybe around the likes of Corey Daniel, Jameson Fanana Schultz, among the others?
Obviously you play against them, and then when you come into camp, it's like a very different. It's first time for me playing against guys that you want to kind of knock their heads off, and then you're best buddies with them at camp. So that was cool, and I think just the way they go about their preparation, the way they look at the game. There's just like minute details that you otherwise wouldn't look at. So great role models to look forward to, and hope to take what they teach me to put to fruition on the field.
Now, watching you play over the last couple of years in MLR, Dallas, and Anthem, I'd say you have a very aggressive. Some might even say confrontational style. Now, I don't mean that like in a bad way, but it appears that out on the field, you relish the role of maybe mixing it up with the other side a little bit. There is that part of your nature? Is that tactical on your part?
Yeah, I honestly, when I watch you play, I'm thinking I'd hate to be behind you in line at Starbucks when the barista gets your name wrong. I'm like, that guy.
No, 100%. Like, growing up, I always got told I play on the edge, and that's how I like it. It's a fine line that I've had to balance over the years, so I stay on the right side of the laws and whatnot. But I'm a pretty aggressive character, like on and off the field. I'm pretty straight up. So that's how I like to play. I like to use that to my advantage, try and get in the opposition, get them a bit rattled up, whatnot. So that's how I like it.
Any particular message that head coach Scott Lawrence has given to you, maybe about just kind of like your growth and your role on the team, and kind of like what he maybe expects out of you over the next few years as we look to 27 and 31 and beyond?
He's basically just told me that I've got like my USP is my acceleration, my speed, footwork on the edges and stuff like that. So just taking those opportunities, taking those moments when they come, and just accelerations and breakdown, defensively stay strong, carry hard, just those type of things. I haven't really spoken to him much about like the bigger picture down the line, but that's what he said to me.
Well, and speaking of messages from Scott, obviously a really nice win over Belgium, and good start to the summer test. What was Scott's message to the team about the importance of winning that first match?
Yeah, it was huge. Like we talk about inspiring the younger generation, and there's no better way to do that than representing your country at the highest level, putting your best performance in, and beating a quality outfit like Belgium.
But also, other than playing, starting off with a win. Any thoughts about the fans' experience? And what I mean by that is winning for the fans as well, because over here for a while, and the players know it too. It's like, all right, we got to win matches, guys. And the fans are saying the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's easy to get fans to come and watch when you're winning. It's pretty hard when you're losing. We had a community outreach event yesterday, and you saw the fans there, and you could see the buzz around Charlotte and the place with all the crowds and the people and the families. Just to get that win and get that excitement, like I've missed it. 16 games without a win, you almost forget what that feeling's like. So, it's awesome.
All right, so let's jump into this weekend. We got Spain, same location, same time, looking to be about 90 degrees with thunderstorms. So you're probably used to that weather by now. How is the team preparing differently for Spain? Only one world ranking behind the Eagles.
Yeah, we know they're quite a physical outfit, and they pride themselves off playing off momentum, two-sided attack, that kind of stuff. So we're going with a bit of a heavier forward pack that'll look to neutralize them and slow them up first half in Q1, Q2, and then Q3, Q4 we'll have some boys come off the bench and look to explode and play on top.
Yeah, so at the time of this recording, selections haven't been announced yet for Saturday's match, but we're hearing there may be rotation or maybe some other names coming back into the pack. Potentially hearing Jamma might be back into the pack. I guess talk a little bit about him. I'm an Old Glory DC fan, so any chance I get to chat up one of the Old Glory guys. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Jamison Van Schultz for a little bit. What does he bring to the pack and to the team, perhaps?
Yeah, he's a pretty cool cat. He's obviously a very large back rower. You can see the frame he's got. He's powerful, explosive, and for a big fella, he gets through a lot of work. We have these awards for most work in a game and stuff like that, and I think he got it in one of the games against Japan last year. So for a big fella, he gets through a serious amount of contact. He's all over the park, and it's cool to be around guys like that. You kind of miss it at Anthem because I'm one of the more experienced boys in that team, and here I'm back big small fish big pond type thing. So he's a cool dude.
Question here about USA versus England here. It's kind of a tough run, right? Because you're 2 days away from playing Spain. Is the team looking ahead to the match against England, or is it all sights kind of just focus on Spain at the moment?
Yeah, it's all first job Spain. We'll get to England next week, but yeah, I think a big performance against Spain will really set us well for that England game, and that's what we've got our eyes set on at the minute.
Well, does this mean more to you though? We kind of teased it earlier, facing England.
Yeah, I know. I know a fair few of the boys on the team as well, old teammates and stuff. So, if I get the opportunity to get selected, it'll mean a lot. And I'll be pretty pumped.
Well, hopefully Scott just does that for you anyway. Just start that one. Come off healthy in the half. Just go with that, or the full 80, whatever. So, let's you alluded to a couple of times. Let's talk about the Anthem season. As a professional, you have to carry yourselves in certain ways, or want to, But what is it, or was the vibe in the locker room, even though it was just another winless season? How was it hard to keep it up?
Yeah, to be fair, the boys came in every week motivated. I was shocked sometimes at how we did it, but I don't know. We had a real good group, a good culture, good connection, and the boys just wanted to buy in for each other, which is really nice. And that's what you feed off in those dark moments in a season. Is that culture, the connection. So yeah, we didn't really have moments where we were obviously you had the moment where you were this is a bit rough, but we kept it going and we pushed through. So I don't actually think there was like a dull moment. There wasn't a dull training where we were all like off the pace or anything like that. Like we all just wanted to crack on, have fun, and play footy.
And I would argue earlier in the season when you guys played Houston, there was a very questionable last-minute penalty call that went against you guys that I would say, some might say, stole a win from you guys. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. But anyway, you don't have to comment on that. But I guess, have you had a chance to kind of review Anthem season? I know you're in the thick of things with the men's Eagles, but have you had a chance to kind of review and then think about, what it might take for next season to get a W? And here's another question. How many wins from Anthem next season? Let's put it out there.
Oh, sorry, brother. You just cut out for a little while there. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it cut out probably because I was asking a stupid question, but it tends to do that sometimes.
No, so I heard you on the Houston thing. That was where I got you.
I thought he left because of that.
Have you had a chance to review Anthem season? I know you're in the thick of the Eagles stuff, but in review, I guess, let's talk about it. What do you think will help Anthem kind of get over the line, get that first win for next season? And then let's throw it out there, man. Predict how many wins Anthem going to get next season. Let's throw it out there. Yeah.
All right. So, the thing we're trying to, I think, change a little bit is we've been trying to get a balance of developing young guys and then winning games at the same time, which is a very tough thing to do. And I don't, in full transparency, I don't think we got the balance right last year. And so I think next year you'll see a few more experienced guys come in that can bring the young guys along, rather than having young guys start when, in fairness, they probably shouldn't be starting. If they were another team, they probably wouldn't be getting the same amount of minutes, which is great for them. But we're trying to win games, and that you can't have, you're only as good as your weakest link. So it's stuff like that. So I think you'll see a very different outfit next year. There'll be a lot of new faces, and I think that'll help with that. And then next year for wins, let's go 8.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, I love it.
And will you be a part of those 8? Or you're returning?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I should quickly talk about some of those young players. It's exciting to see Storty playing well in the centers.
Yeah.
Talk about a couple of those young players.
Yeah. So Storts, I didn't know much about like the college boys coming in to the Anthem team or any of these names. But yeah, the way Storty goes about his preparation and the way he plays is quite an exciting brand of rugby that he brings. So it's pretty cool. And then we had Ale, the back rower lock that came in. I saw him at the start of the season. And I was like, I was a bit of a bad bloke, but I said, I reckon you'll probably get 2 games in you this year. And then he ended up playing, a lot of games for us. So it was really cool to see how he progressed on during the season. Those 2, and then obviously Don Bisag, the Eagle that's coming. I'm sure he'll be over pretty soon, and it'd be exciting.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quickly here. I know we're running up on time, but unfortunately, kind of maybe earlier in your career, had some injuries and stuff that maybe set you back a little bit when you're in the Premiership. I guess talk to us, just kind of like mentally, how were you able to kind of gain that playing confidence back and like trust yourself mentally and physically to perform at the level that you expect of yourself?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I was out for 22 months at one point. I'm broken back into a torn hamstring. So, that was pretty tough. But I played just a couple of games, and it's a weird feeling. You always think something's going to go because that's what you've expected. Like that's what you're used to. And then once you play like 2, 3, you're like, oh, I'm back. I remember what this feeling's like. Like it's kind of muscle memory type stuff. So, Jackals was big for my confidence. I will say that. Like, playing in, week out, having a coach that backs you and trusts your ability to play and your style of rugby was huge for me. Cougar was massive in getting my confidence back and my playing ability back. But yeah, mentally, you get into the rhythm again, I guess. But it's more the hard part is getting to that point. I think once you're back out there, you get into the rhythm pretty easy. But it's just staying healthy and keeping your mind right off the field up until that point.
All right, Fitzy, you're gonna wrap it up. He's got some questions for you. Hot.
Yeah, rapid fire. This is called Would You Rather. Would you rather score, try, or make a big hit?
Big hit.
Okay. Would you rather get a jackal or a slick offload?
Jackal.
Okay. Last one here. Would you rather run a Bronco or pack down against the Springboks?
Oh. Yeah, Bronco.
It's like one of those.
Yeah.
He's like, neither.
Yeah. Maka, man, this has been great. Thank you. Really appreciate you jumping on with us. We've been talking about getting you on here for a while now, and the timing worked out great. Good luck this weekend against Spain. Bring us home a win, and cannot wait to see what you guys do against England as well.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
You got it. And you said 8 wins for Anthem, so Fitz, you got that down, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you.
I'll take the over.
Yeah. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Yeah, good guy. I like talking to him. He's got a nice future. And when our crack team of researchers was on it, 23 years old. For some reason I thought he was older.
I know, he's only 23. That's crazy.
Those tuning in right now, that was Maka Alikhan, or as you know him as Makeen Alikhan from US Eagles, just got his first cap. And he's a full-time member with Anthem Carolina, previously with Dallas Jackals, previously with Harlequins Prem side. Good to have him on. I think he has a great future with the Eagles, and we'll see how it goes, man. I like it, man. Fitzy, let's get right into it. Let's jump into the second half of the show. On to our next guest. As usual, we're going to introduce him with a great music introduction, a la Boston punk rock.
Okay.
Like it makes sense.
Back at the helm after 3 years away, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, back to Boston. A man with an impressive coaching pedigree, an expert in skill acquisition, a creator of novel attacking system. What does any of that mean? It means New England Free Jack chance again. 1P, 2P, and now 3P. Huzzah! Let's welcome to the show. New England Free Jacks and Northland head coach Ryan Martin.
There he is.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello. That was great.
And good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Nice early over here.
I figure you probably get up at 4 in the morning for a run or something.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
exactly. Yeah.
Ryan, welcome to the show. I got to ask you, did you get any kind of break, or did you go straight from Pawtucket to New Zealand?
I had 2 days back at Fort Quincy, and then lost a day in the air flying to New Zealand. So 2 days at home in Dunedin, and then got up here to Whangarei to start preseason day 1 on Monday.
So you weren't that sweaty guy in a long flight that smells like alcohol, were you?
No, I know how painful that is, so I made sure I was a little bit more appropriate.
I've only been that guy once. The last time we had on the head coach of the Free Jacks, after winning an MLR championship, Scott Matthew got up and left a week later. He didn't tell us that on the show, so give it to us straight right away. Are you sticking around next season?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's something I really wanted to commit, because I actually did leave after one season last time. So I'm definitely back.
Well, Ryan, congrats on winning your first Major League Rugby Shield. The team's obviously third consecutive historic run that isn't finished yet. I mean, is this just straight up special, or was there something during the season that just made weaning all that much better?
Yeah, I think I always go back to where Scott Matthew put us. Like he gave us the gift to be able to go for it and do something no one's ever done before. So I've always got to acknowledge that. And I was coming into a crew. I think we had 70% of the squad back from the previous year, so that helps as well, doesn't it? That those boys know what player football's about. They know the standards that New England's held to. So you put those two things together, and then you bring in some players, where we believed we needed to fill some gaps and get a little bit better in certain areas. And then, with the announcement of Rhode Island early in the season, that kind of put the extra jigsaw piece into the pressure puzzle, didn't it? So, yeah, we needed to chip away. We kind of blocked the season out in little groupings of three games at a time, and just made sure we're nailing those 3 weeks, and it kind of led to where we got to.
Now, I read somewhere, this may have been an interview that you gave maybe a week ago or so, maybe in the weeks during the playoffs right before the MLR championship, the team maybe had a little bit of a lighter training load, maybe more like team building exercises, which, the average sporting mind, they're like, whoa, wait a second, this seems counterintuitive. Yeah, walk us through that process, what that was like, or the reason behind it.
Yeah, well, I think the MLR is unique with the length of the season, the travel schedules, the different turfs you play on. So I was very mindful of how long we're going to be together. So early on in the campaign, I knew, like, at the back end of the season, and when I say back end, I'm talking like 2 months, we're going to have to taper away. And we had a little motto that fresh is best. So I looked at ways that we could kind of taper away our weeks and lead into those games, kind of maybe underdone but overexcited. And that was kind of the way we looked at it. And we got trainings down to about 50 minutes, and that's with the warm-up. And we just emphasised connection. So Joe Johnston, he's an amazing captain, and he read the room, and he got the boys probably doing more off-feet type of connections in terms of the ropey stuff in and around the gym and on either sides before training started. And then it just meant we could really kind of be short, sharp, and you just saw the way the boys were really exploding in those games. And, you think of when we had comebacks, you think of Chicago, 17-0 down, 53 minutes on the clock, and then we explode and put 20-plus points. And it was a little bit of a trend in that back end. We always knew that 60 to 80 mark were going to be really awesome, just the way we'd prepped, and obviously bringing on some heavy artillery off the bench as well. So there was a bigger plan in place with all of that.
And generally speaking, you said a large group of the Free Jacks came back from last season. When it comes to the finals specifically, how important is that experience of those players who played in the finals for that match in Rhode Island?
Well, the cool thing is, in saying that, not all of that group were heavily involved in the actual match day 23. So you think of Connor Keys, Cole Bailey, legends of the team, maybe the prior 2 years, where they came into their own in terms of prepping the team. And I actually do vividly remember the last 2 weeks, the way they helped us in that week in terms of being who we needed them to be in the opposition. So pretending to be the Chicago players and then pretending to be Houston. But the way they nailed those roles, and they really got into our starting group and made sure that they were really sharp at training, and there's a bit of niggle, which is what you want. That's where we kind of got massive benefit from those types of players, because they knew exactly what was expected. You think of John Poland as well, like the way he prepped our other two halfbacks, making sure that they were super sharp. Just having those types of guys on the other side of the ball training is just gold.
And speaking of the sideline team, the fans were a very well supported team by your fan group, obviously. Some complained about, obviously, when it was announced it's going to be Rhode Island, they said the opposite that you guys said. We cannot have the Free Jacks in there. You're saying we have to be in there. It's in our backyard.
Yeah.
So having the fans say a home game doesn't hurt you by any means, obviously. But was it fair for Houston?
Well, to be honest, it was it did add a layer of pressure on us, and I tried to kind of put it in the background as much as I could. But once again, it was an MLR gift in terms of access to a final that maybe people normally wouldn't be able to get to from in terms of our fan base and our activation. And I think when you look back at that ground, what a fantastic day that was, and I think that's probably the format and the way it should be, like quite intimate. And I know it was tough on Houston. Look at their last couple of 3-week travel schedule and that delay on the LA game, but they fronted that last position they could have won. So I think it worked out pretty well for everyone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the players in the game. We got to, I think, start with Paula Bellicana. I mean, absolute star of a player, can play defense. That shoestring chase down tackle in that Chicago match, unreal. Obviously, can score from out wide. But yet, in a guy like Brock Webster, and it seems like those two are just, I don't know, kind of in sync. Especially Paul's first try and then the over-the-shoulder pass from Brock. Usually that kind of playmaking, right, comes together after the guys are familiar with playing with each other for a number of seasons. So I guess the question here is, where is that coming from? Are they just familiar with each other's style of play? Is it tactically something the Free Jacks look to try and do on offense? Yeah,
that's a great question. You look at Brock's progress throughout the season. So he got his first start against Seattle on the wing, and that was after he rehabbed all preseason to get back, and he just started building confidence. I love the way we managed Brock, and I love the way we kind of like really got him to his ceiling of what he can do. And in terms of the connections that the boys had, we actually do a thing in training called 5v3s, and it's our starting team versus our preparation team for the week, which we call the Redcoats. And we play a game 5v3 where it's just like explosive rugby, just real fast and just continually trying to beat people, kind of like sevens. And it's like a mainstay of what we do. So because I've been doing that for 6 months, a lot of that kind of like blind passing and running lines in the open field just become quite natural. And you look at a lot of our tries throughout the season, there's a kind of some weird things that shouldn't really stick, but they do. Like I think of when Andrew Quattrin against Houston in game 1, we played them rolls and goes through a hole, offloads, and then Dan Hollinshead does one round of back to Brock, and then there's like heaps of little funny things like that. And I think it was definitely the emphasis we put on not being like, I think rugby's getting too structured at the moment, so like trying to live in that unstructured kind of that controlled chaos mindset. And that try in the final was a real direct result of some of that work we've been doing.
And looking at some of the players, you mentioned a couple of there, but Andrew Quattrin has had a fantastic season, had a great game there, and great throw-ins, line-outs. Seemed like he was well put together there. And then, your props did great as well. So one of the questions was, what's the status, or what was the injury that I can't never get his name right, Joni?
Jone, yeah.
Thank you, Jone. What happened to him? It seems like he's been nursing an injury for a while.
Yeah, I think it was actually his other knee. So the left knee had just an ACL tweak, but it was never it was more just a strap and go job. And then he tweaked the other side, just the way his foot caught in the turf and the impact. So once again, what a guy to bring on, Caleb Geiger. If there was ever a tight head prop who had to play 60 minutes on a hard and fast surface against a huge pack, like that's the guy you want on, isn't it? He's got a massive motor. He lives and breathes preparation in the week. Like he's always the first in the gym. He's there 6 a.m. doing all his prehab. He's just an incredible. I just love his story, and he just is such a massive figure in our team around standards and huge work ethic, huge work rate. And he left on the Sunday straight after the grand final to get into the American camp, and I just hope he gets a good shot in there as well.
Well, let's talk about him really quick in the U.S. sense. Actually, just a coaching sense. He looks to be a player that comes off the bench quite a bit, impact player later in the match, at the international level as well. So what is the coaching sense there? Is he the kind of player that he's so good off the bench and fresh later in the match, he can make a bigger impact instead of starting matches?
Yeah, I think Geiger's still learning his role as a real awesome international tight head. And you think in New Zealand where I am, like our props here, they play Super Rugby, then they play NPC. So they're logging 34, 36 games in a season at a high level. And probably the only thing that is holding Caleb back is just that continued ability to test his craft, especially scrumming. So it is a slow burn and making sure he's learning the dark arts of what that looks like. Because he didn't play rugby at high school or colleges, say, he was into baseball and American football. He was a very late bloomer, but you want to really protect those late bloomers because I've always found like the best tight heads that generally sit between 28 years of age and 34, just where they're really matured in their body and they understand the contortions that their body's going to go through. So what you've got to do is you've got to profile what Geiger brings. He's super explosive. He's a big body. He's a bundle of energy. So that actually does suit bringing him on like into a tiring scrum from the opposite side of the ball and then letting him unleash. And plus he gets to learn his craft. So for him, it's just a time. He's still very young in terms of rugby age as a tight head. But the hilarious thing is he's actually a very good hooker as well. Like he'll spend 20 minutes before training throwing the ball to our coach up the ladder to practice his hooking skills. And he played a few games at hooker for us. So I can't think of a lot of props in world rugby who can go from tight head to hooker. So he's got that strange ability to do that, which I think you just got to cultivate him.
Ryan, let's return back to coaching the Free Jacks. You previously coached them back in 2021. Now, upon returning for the 2025 season, what was your approach in taking over from a head coach that had won 2 straight, right? Like, do you mess around with the winning formula, right? Back-to-back champs. Do you add in your own leadership? Do you reshuffle the cards? I can't imagine it was easy to take over with the pressure and the expectation that like, hey, you need to win a third one.
Yeah, you're totally right. There was that. I think I had to be really respectful. I had some good conversations with Scott before going in. But I also had to, what I say, like win the room and put my personality on the team. I think to carry over a lot of what had happened previously wouldn't have been true to the way I do things. So there was definitely an element of carrying over some of the, I suppose you'd call it like the traditional and the cultural things that have worked really well and the legacy stuff. And then just add my personality into those vacuums where I thought that it needed to be. And I think we got a really good mix, obviously with having Tom Kindly still there. He knows what works really well in and around that stuff. And it is such a unique competition. I think you can get caught out as a coach coming in and thinking you're going to, revolutionize the world and play this amazing style of rugby. And it's a very tough competition to play in, just with the travel and the turfs and the quality of the players across all the squads now. It is, and each team is very unique to their coach and the way they play. It's not like you kind of, in New Zealand here in the NPC, we'll probably see similar types of styles with little tweaks. Whereas the MRR is incredible because you think of Miami, like super passionate Argentinian influence, like in and around their breakdown work. You think of Houston, South African influence rolling around the corner. You look at LA, Australian influence with Hoyles, that kind of run from all areas of the field, keep the ball in hand and tire the defense. There's just so much going on. So I needed to come in and look at what were kind of the winningest behaviours that the Free Jacks were doing under Scott, but also what are the winningest behaviours in the competition telling us across the board that where we need to go.
Well, you mentioned TK a moment ago. You both, the whole coaching staff has clearly kept up with all the fun things off the pitch you do as a team. A, how important is it to the team's or any team's success to do those things? And B, anything different this year you guys did that was just like, wow, what a blast?
Yeah, it's huge. But being a long season, but you've got to keep all squad members involved. So we really threw a spanner in the works with what a rugby week looks like. I've always been passionate around rugby weeks in terms of the setups. Rugby's quite a young sport in terms of professionalism. If you actually think of it, in the late '90s over here in New Zealand, that's when it kind of started. So it's still young in terms of the longevity of a professional sport. And I always crack up that when it first went professional, one coach decided on kind of what a rugby week looks like, and it's always kind of stuck. And people get scared of changing what it could be. And I suppose what we did differently and where we were wacky and weird was just what we did on our Mondays, our first days, and going to pickleball tournaments, doing yoga on windswept beaches, having soul sessions at the Quincy Yacht Club, just letting rugby kind of be the last part of the jigsaw puzzle, and over connecting and having fun at our own expense. Like I remember after we lost to DC down there in Washington, and that was a terrible performance. Nothing, no one was proud of that. But then that night we had a beautiful carver ceremony led by Paula and Johnny for 3 hours. And it was just so awesome. Like no one was sulking. We're just connecting. So I suppose we do things a little bit different around our environment. But that's just the way TK and I believe it should be.
Well, Fitzy wasn't upset about that game. Just want to make sure you know that. Ryan, every team, this is rugby, every team deals with injuries. You're definitely did with John, Jason, Kyle, whoever else. We'll talk about a couple of these players. Dan Hollenshed comes in, and to fill in at fly half with, league MVP, Jason Patros, team leader on the field, playmaker, let's say. He missed, he played maybe 2 matches, I believe it was, I forget.
Yeah.
And then, of course, sustained the other end of the year. But talk about Dan's impact on the team's success. I mean, he did all the way into that finals. Yeah,
well, the actual hilarious thing before we talk about Dan is actually Harrison Boyle. What people forget, round 1 versus LA, Harrison Boyle was our team because I lost Patros in preseason. And he was a lawyer in Wellington. And I rang him. He hadn't played rugby for 9 months. I said, mate, I need you to come over, and in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be starting against LA in round 1. And he's like, no problem. He went and quit his job as a lawyer in Wellington and got on the plane, hadn't played rugby for 9 months. And the medics told me, listen, he's probably only got 60 minutes in him. I said, that's great. We got to the 60-minute water break, and they said, he's done. I was like, I need another 15 minutes from him. And he to me was the star of the show because he bridged that gap until we could kind of see we were at the lay of the land with Patros. And you think of any time Harrison Boyle, like he started at 10 a few times for us. He started at fullback. He was kind of the shining light, really. And then that allowed us to take our time to get Dan in. And Dan, once again, had a huge rehab of a really, really bad knee injury when he was playing for LA, funnily enough. So he was 9 months post any rugby as well. So those two kind of shared the load. And then, the same with Falatoy. We got him up to a pace where he could, take the keys to the car in terms of playing at 10, but then he had a terrible spinal injury against San Diego. So once again, Boiler filled that gap for us. And I think what it allowed Dan to do is just take his time and come in and, everything had almost been set up for him. And then we played to a style that's really suited Dan. And he's just got a really awesome, clear, calm demeanor about everything he does. And then, once again, we lost Dan he had to get back to New Zealand for the birth of his first child, pull the baby out and then get back over to us for the playoff series. So it was kind of touch and go how that all looked for us. But I think if you set up your team really well structurally, anyone should almost be able to step into that kind of 9 or 10 position, and it should just be almost autopilot. And I think that's what we're kind of pretty proud of, that I think we could have put many people in there and it may not have changed too much.
How many times did Harrison, while the boys are out, Say, listen, gentlemen, I'm an attorney, but I'm not licensed to practice law here. So
It's a
happens a few
fantastic
times.
story, isn't it? He just
That's a great story. I never knew that.
he
I'm
just ran out of
surprised
the
he
court, and jumped on a plane.
surprised he
Wow.
didn't sue you for negligence for making him play an extra 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's we go way back. I actually coached him at Otago when he was 18 years of age. So
Wow.
I've always been a big fan. And you'll remember my first stint. That was his first professional contract over in the MLR with the Free Jacks and the 21 season. So I've always been a massive fan. And he's a slow burn. You know, he's only 24, 25 years of age. He's gonna become an awesome first five. And he's American passport holder. Born in Boston, so it'll be a good one for Scott Lawrence and that crew to look at. And I reckon cultivate someone like that because he's so different. He's massive, big, long levers. He's way bigger than he looks when he's on TV. He can take it to the line. You go back to the San Diego game, and you know he's bumping off Brad Wilkinson, international quality open side flanker from the Wallabies. He's busting the line, like scoring awesome tries. He's definitely someone I reckon the USA setup need to look at.
So just a couple more questions for you. I know you have to go. Joe Johnston, one of my favorite Free Jacks players, glad he came back to the team. Are you able to talk on his decision to not be available for USA?
Yeah, I think it was a real interesting one for Joe because he's so passionate about USA, and he really did have visions of locking in and staying and participating in that campaign, but he's very close with his partner from New Zealand who came over, and her father is pretty ill at the moment, and he did feel a responsibility around coming back and supporting. So there's bigger picture decisions in that, and he's in a really good space with his stuff back here as well. His NPC with Bay of Plenty, he was probably the best player in NPC last year, and he just feels he owes it to the Bay of Plenty, who've been really good to him as well. And it kind of syncs with both seasons. And, you know, who's to say what that looks like for him in the coming years? He's still very young. Once again, he's like a real slow burn. He's just getting better and better and more mature. I had Joe when he was 17 years of age in the New Zealand Barbarians as a schoolboy. And so we go a long way back. And I've just seen him become from a boy to a man type scenario, and understands his body really well, and he's a fantastic leader of our team. It's just inspirational.
Ryan, last question here for you quickly. Right before the season, there was, fans, pundits, a little brouhaha over MLR tweaking the scrum laws a little bit, and they emphasized it's not too much of a reduction. Some people were griping potentially, relieving pressure in certain key moments. I guess with all that swirling around, how much did that have on an impact in terms of how you approach certain situations in the game, or maybe just how you played?
Yeah. That once again, great question, and I think what you have to I'm massive on working with the referees and understanding what the certain tweaks, law requirements then ask of your team and the way you can play. And, obviously Houston, you think of their situation with that scrum in the final. It probably inhibited not being able to go again with not having the double reset and opting for a scrum again with that law tweak. You just have to kind of coach to what that means for your team, and generally that means you're going to have potentially more maul defense scenarios, like closer. You think of 7 meters to the try line, so you kind of just prep your team. I think you put more emphasis around maul D becomes more important, maul attack becomes more important, knowing you're going to get maybe one good shot at a scrum.
Yeah. Well, we talked to Brandon Sparks at the Fan Fest at the finals, and he mentioned more changes coming next season. So some changes to TMO and et cetera. So,
yeah.
Ryan, man, it's been a blast. You and I talked previously to the Free Jack season about this chance. Finally, the season's over, got you on, but for good reason. Ryan, I apologize, Fitzy had to drop off here at the end, but. Thank you so much for jumping in. Congrats again with the Free Jack success. Looking forward to next year, and also looking forward to seeing how you do in NPC. Good luck with the season.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Bill.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Ryan Martin, the New England Free Jacks head coach. John Fitzpatrick had to jump off here at the last second. Just decided he wanted to wait. He decided he wanted maybe to go to the bathroom or something, and it looks like he's back. Okay.
I don't know what happened there. I asked a question, all of a sudden, like, lost audio, lost video, and I was like, "Where did everyone go?"
Even Ryan went, "What?" Okay, he just kept going.
All right, fine. Ask a question and dip. Sorry, Ryan.
Did
he have to go?
You're in a bar fight. You're one that punches someone and runs out the other back. Yeah, he had to go. He has a long day today of coaching and etc. We had a lot more questions for Ryan. I love that he has double duties with the Free Jacks. So during the NPC season, he's still scouting for the draft. He's still, I mean, honestly, for him, as far as skill acquisition, we have a number of NPC players in the Free Jacks team. So he's probably looking at opponents and his own teammates. Hey, you want to go to Boston next year?
No kidding. Yeah.
But I was wondering also, during the Free Jack season, was he doing the same for Northland? Was he scouting already or talking to players? Very interesting. Fitzy, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. A quick nap or something. I don't know what it was.
I could use one of those.
Oh, no kidding. My wife brought me a cup of coffee during recording. I appreciate that. Now I'm sweating. Right up here. Yeah, that's good. Listeners, thank you for tuning in today. Fitzy, thank you for sticking around. Sorry, we're just going to go with that for a while. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you are at the end of this recording on a podcast or the YouTube playback, remember, we do have a first half of the show also. So with these double guests, when they're two different subjects, we like to split them up into two different podcasts. So if you listen to one, go back and listen to the other one. It's the same day, same episode, or do what you want. Fitz, any last comments?
Viva la USA against Spain.
Viva. I should do it. We should do a jingle just for that. All right, buddy. See you.